are you feeling now?
I didn't like him that night. I didn't like the preparation, and it's just, your guts. Like we said, my guts usually right, and walked out of the pregame speech and just didn't like the feel in the room. And to be honest, I'm concerned about our starts. We Ferris State scored first on us, and we came back and won. Anchorage scored first on us, we came back and won. Fairbanks scored first, we came back and won. You can't do that. You're playing with fire, especially against good teams, and that changes the complexion of the game when you're playing from the front or you're chasing the game. And a big emphasis on Saturday was to come out and for whatever reason this year we have not been able to start well at home and start fast. And that's kind of been the bread and butter of our program, is that we come out of the gate swinging. And I didn't think that we did that either night. I thought we just kind of dipped, as well as we played on Friday. I thought we were just kind of dipping our toe in the water to start the game. It's a concern, and it's an area that has to be adjusted.
I'm sure you answered this on Saturday, but you pulled Ate, you put him back in. I was kind of thinking you might pull him again late when it was, give Nolan a little more time. Just wondering your thought pattern on that.
Reason I put Ate back in is I think he gives us the best chance to win. He's such an emotional, competitive person that I figured if we could just get him to reset after this first period. There's still a lot of hockey left, and there's kind of 4 10-minute segments, and if you can win each one of those, you're going to win the game based on where you're at. The reason I didn't put Nolan back in is at that point in the game, I didn't think it was fair to him the way we were playing in front of him, and I didn't want his first experience at home to be one that he thinks about all summer, and is just seeing scoring chance after scoring chance against a team that has really good sticks. If it was a team that I thought that maybe we're just playing poorly and maybe Ate needed a night off, I would go with Nolan. But it was just that night at that time. I just didn't think it was right.
Just everything was combining at the wrong time.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, I mean, we outshot them both nights. Which is funny, because if you look at, essentially all the stats on Friday, that shots, scoring chances, face-offs, competitiveness, which is physicality and turnovers, every one of those says you win the game by 2, maybe 3. But the only place we didn't win the scoreboard. And then the next night, we didn't give up a ton of chances. We didn't get our hair blown back. But the ones we gave up were just major league chances. And, that's, it's one of those games that, it shows you areas that you need to get better. And, hopefully it got the attention of our team, and we can address those.
Because I was thinking Nolan gave up a goal on a power play, and every goal he gives up a goal on a power play. I didn't know if that was a turning point for you bringing Ate back in or not, because I thought Nolan did okay.
Yep.
In the time he had.
Yeah, he did. He did very well. He's made huge strides in practice. I didn't want. There's 2 games this year that I thought about putting him in and keeping him in, and one was at St. Cloud, and it was early in the year, and I didn't want him to have that feeling. And then the second one was Saturday night, and again, I just didn't think it was fair to him at that point in the game. Because you're not going to come back and win at that point. Lots of times you make that change to spark your team, and it did. We scored a goal, and kind of took command of the game until that penalty. So it was more about Nolan than it was about anything else.
3 of those 7 goals on Saturday night were during the penalty kill. Is there any adjustments that you're going to be making to going about penalty kills?
No, because we'd killed 28 in a row before that. I think a couple of those were just a byproduct of, for the first time in my tenure here, they just didn't see the puck well. And it is what it is. Everybody has a bad game, and he's had essentially one, and it happened to be on Saturday. So not really. I mean, I think the penalty kills, been a strength of ours, and it was just it was one of those nights where there's an old line in athletics that everybody's eligible for a butt kicking, and it was just our turn.
With Ate, how's he doing? Like, has he moved on?
He's over it. I talked to him after the game. You know, he was still emotional after the game, and I asked him just to park it. You know, and yesterday he spoke with Dieter Cocken, the goalie coach, and I think there's a lot of value in that. You know, they both are such competitive people. You know, obviously Dieter played the position, and I think just, you know, there's things that maybe they talk about that that I don't need to know too. You know, and certain things, just like any position player, forwards have Rob, the D have Byron, and the goalies have Dieter, and I think that relationship, especially knowing coming from that relationship in my previous job, it's really important that you're close with your guys. And there's things that I maybe didn't run up the flagpole there, and there's things that maybe I don't need to know about here. And I think after talking to Dieter, based on just, you know, what he shared with me, Ate's good. He's ready to move on. He flushed it. He was excited for Bowling Green.
Which, yeah, kind of leads into the next part. He's not playing a lousy team this week. He needs to get psyched up for the Falcons, and I'm sure he will.
And you know what? Historically, he's really played well in important games. He's played well in big crowds. You know, and for whatever reason this weekend, he just didn't see it. But we need him to be big. I mean, these games, as much as last week was, you're still on the hunt to try to finish first. You know, and had we split the weekend, we'd be even Steven with them. Had you had a chance to sweep them, then you're kind of in the driver's seat. Well, none of those things happen. So now you got to make sure that you finish where we did last year, because we all know the importance of finishing second. It keeps you home through the first 2 rounds, and should anything happen, all last year, you have a chance to host a championship game. So, you know, and here the reality of it is, it's not just Northern Michigan and Bowling Green. You know, Lake State's there, Michigan Tech's there, all of a sudden Bemidji's there. And, you know, those are our opponents coming up in the next 6 weeks. So we got to make sure that every weekend we're as dialed in as we can be, because just even if you have a good weekend or a poor weekend this weekend, you got other people right around you. It's not like there's a separation from the top of the league to the middle of the league. We're all kind of bunched up right there.
You played Bowling Green earlier this year. They were really, really hot, and you were the team to finally start to make them cool off. What's going to be the key this time, you think?
Well, number one, you know, coaches kind of have a certain style of play, and players change, but, you know, we kind of all coach the same way. And, you know, historically that program has been a very hard-nosed team. They don't beat themselves very often, and, you know, especially with what's become a pretty good rivalry in our conference, emotions are going to run high, and we're going to have to make sure that we match their intensity. And you know, because they're a physical hockey team, they're going to be in your face. They're not afraid to take a penalty through physicality because they feel they can kill it. So we got to be sharp with our sticks. We got to be sharp on the power play. But most importantly, we have got to make sure that we match their physicality.
But overall,
And somehow it all relates to women's basketball after that answer.
it really does.
Hey, we got to make our shots.
But overall, I mean, you guys have flushed the game. You're not, the team's doing okay. You're still feeling great.
Yeah, you know what? And it's because every weekend, you know, in athletics, it kind of can be a roller coaster, but you have to look at the whole grand scheme of it. And you know, we've got enough money in the bank from some wins that we've had that we're still in a really good situation. And you know, I do think that the guys are very disappointed. You know, yesterday was very quiet around the rink. There's no music on in the locker room. The practice was about as hard of a practice as I've ever coached. But you know what? I think that it's almost, as an athlete, you almost are looking forward to that because it helps you flush what you've been through, and you know, you don't ignore it. You know, that's not what, you know, athletes or coaches do. You face it front on, and you know, there was areas that I felt that we needed to improve on, that we worked on yesterday. But you know, it's not just a one-day deal. It's you know, we're gonna be a competitive, hard to play against team, and you know, I've mentioned to the players that this program is not going to go backwards. Not on our watch. We still have to take that next step, you know, and it's time for us as a program to take that next step into a situation where every night we expect to win. You might not, but you're so darn competitive and you play so hard that should you even lose, the other team knows they played you and they felt you and you made a lasting impact on them should you see them again.